Alright, welcome back to MGM Paints. Today we'll be finishing up House Cawdor and painting the Redemptionists. These are the fanatical zealots, if you will, of the Underhive that are loyal to the Emperor and look to purge any Xenos mutants or anyone non-loyal to the Emperor. My videos will not help you win any contests or awards, but the purpose of my videos is to help newcomers and beginners to this hobby or to Necromunda get their miniatures painted up and on the tabletop. If you like this video, you can leave a thumbs up down below. If you dislike the video, you can certainly do that as well. Just remember, there's better things to do in life than go around pissed off. I certainly appreciate your support, and without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, House Cawdor Redemptionists. Some of these guys you may want to paint in sub-assemblies, as they are a bit hard to get to. We're going to focus on this guy right here, as he does show kind of a little bit of everything and is a little easier to get to. I do start out with a gray primer. I used Rust-Oleum Gray here. It is a great inexpensive primer, and we are going to lead off with Citadel's Mephiston Red. And pretty easy here, we're just going to start laying down all of our base coats, and this Mephiston Red, we're going to be focusing on the robe, and this will extend a little bit to his body as well as his shoulders. I also painted the mask in this color. If you're thinning this paint down with a little bit of water, it will more than likely take you 2 coats to get nice even coverage. With that initial base coat on, we've got a nice vibrant red on this character, and it's not going to stay this bright. But our next color, we're going to use Vallejo Tan Earth. And if you watched a lot of my painting videos, you're going to start to see a lot of these colors repeat themselves. And for this color, we are just going to be focusing on the skin area. And there's not a lot of skin tones on these models. There's going to be some on the face here, on the chin, as well as the neck area, as well as the arms, and that's it. We're going to be putting down all of our base coats first, so you don't have to be super careful here. Just get the paint on, and then we'll probably cover it up with another color, or we can go back in the end and touch anything up. And with that complete, we are going to switch over to a Vallejo game color. This is terracotta, and we are going to use this just to get this little piece of cloth on the front of the robe. I do these in different colors. I used some in this terracotta color, and I also used some with German gray, which is more of a black tone. You can use a good sized brush here, just start at the top and work your way down to the bottom. And 2 thin coats later, we're probably looking something like this. We can go ahead and switch back to our Vallejo model color. This is leather brown. And we're going to use this to get a lot of the leather bits, such as the boots, the belt. I will also do some of these in the German gray as well, which is more of that black color. And I'm also going to use this color to get his gloves, just to give some variation between the various fighters. So once again, pick a brush of your choosing and just work your way around, getting the gloves and anything else you want to be brown. Alright, once done, we're going to switch up to a Vallejo Gunmetal Gray, and we'll be using this to get all of the metallic areas. And this is going to be the pistols, of course. We are going to go ahead and get the piece on his shoulders that's coming down his chest, the armor, if you will. And we'll also get the piece on his back. He's got a grenade on his side as well that we'll catch with this color. Alright, we are quickly getting to the end of the base coats already, and next up will be Vallejo model color Beige Brown. We're going to be using this to get the rope area as well as any minor straps. You could easily use leather brown for those straps as well. They come around from the front and the back, holding his armor plates together. I just like to give some different colors on the model to just represent, I guess, different types of leather or things like that. There's also a pretty small strap on his head that is holding his mask on. I get that with this color as well. Alright, next he does have a skull decoration on the front, so I grabbed some Vallejo Game Color Bone White and quickly go over that skull. And then I bring in Vallejo Model Color Mahogany Brown, and I'm going to do this with his hair. I'll be using this later on in the video, so I figured why not. Some of their hair's black, some is blonde, so with this one I just wanted it to be kind of a brownish color. At the end of the day, pick whatever color you like. You by no means have to follow the recipe that I use, but if you did, this should be about what it looks like. Moving on with our final base coat, we're going to use a Vallejo model color Bronze, and I'll be using this to get some of the trim work on the armor, just trying to bring those out a little bit, going around the edges, giving those a gold pop to them. Alright, and that completes our base colors. This is a perfect time to go around and clean some things up, and you can see where I have spilled in a few places. There's a place right here that I just didn't even get any color in. So I'm going to take my base colors and go back around and start to clean that up. Had a little spill on the arm there, I can clean that up easily. Any mistakes that were made, super easy to clean up at this point because we are just working with our base colors. Alright, moving into the shade stage, we're going to use Carroburg Crimson. This is a red shade from Games Workshop, Citadel range. And we're going to be using this to obviously go over the red bits. If you just have non-oil on hand, which is a black wash, you're going to be just fine with that as well. I just have this stuff on hand, so decided to use it. You've probably heard 100 times, but when using a wash, you want to try to funnel it to the recesses or into the creases or cracks into the folds of the cloth. You want to try to wipe it away from your flat surfaces. This is going to tone down that red overall, but it's also going to provide you a lot of shade and definition into those recessed areas. The next wash we'll use is Citadel, and it is Agrax Earthshade. This is a brown wash, and we'll be using this on all of the brown pieces, so anything that we did leather brown. We'll also be using this on the skin tones as well, and the hair, the cloth that's in the middle of the robe. This will work great for all of those pieces. Again, if you wanted to do the entire model in an Agrax Earthshade or a non-oil wash, you would be fine. The last shade we'll use is Citadel's Non-Oil, and we're going to use this on all of the metallic areas. Depending on how much you use or how many coats you use, I just use one, but you can really darken this armor down to an almost black color if you would like to do that. But with all of that complete, this is what our model looks like after base coats and a wash. And as you can see, this could be put on the table right now. I don't think anybody would give you a hard time about that. We are going to take it a step further, however, and start to bring some of these colors back to life. And that first paint we're going to go back to is our Mephiston Red from Citadel, and using this paint we want to stay away from the recesses this time and focus on the raised areas, the larger flat panels or areas that would be hitting light. We're going to be working on his robe, so this piece that is his thigh, the top of the knees, and any folds, we want to get the top of those folds. And this doesn't have to be a super thin line highlight. We can be a little liberal here and go with a bigger surface area as to where light would be hitting this model. We'll go back in with one more color to kind of give some edge highlights here and there to really simulate those hard edges. On the mask area, you want to pay particular attention to the nose, the cheeks, and maybe the top of the brow. Alright, next we'll go to the Vallejo model color Vermilion. This is a step up in red, and we're just going to get the very top of the cloth, the very top of the folds. On the face, we'll obviously get the most extremities, so the top of the nose, as well as the cheekbones that are coming out. Just those areas that are really pronounced, we will just kind of touch with this color. Now you could take this a step further and go in with edge highlights and things like that. We are not going to do that. These highlights for me just don't have to be super thin on the cloth. They're not really hard edges, if you will, so I just go through and touch up where light would really be hitting the folds and things like that and call it good. And you can tell, for my standards, this has really given us some definition between those darker areas moving to a lighter surface. Alright, the next highlight color is back to that Vallejo model color Beige Brown. This is what we used earlier, and I'm going to use this to go over a lot of the leather bits. I'm also going to use it on this front cloth he is wearing to give it some differentiation from the robe. And you can see I kind of make a mistake here. I go in pretty heavy, so if you catch it, you can just kind of quickly wipe that away, wipe that in, and it'll look just fine. But I use this to get this front part on his robe. If you use black, you could highlight this with a gray here, And then, of course, the gloves, his boots if they were showing. I'm also going to use this color to highlight his hair. Okay, the model's starting to come together now, so we're going to switch up to that Vallejo model color Bone White. We're going to use this to touch up that skull a little bit, where we toned that down. We're also going to use this to go across the rope areas, just making some dots on the uppermost parts of the rope to give that some color. And now switching over to Vallejo Game Color for the flesh areas, we'll do Dwarf Skin, and this is just going to go on over that tan earth. We'll repeat this process with Dark Flesh by Vallejo Model Color, and we'll go not as far in this time as we did with the previous one. There's not a lot of flesh on this guy, so we're just trying to bring in some skin tones to the model. Next, we'll bring in some Vallejo Model Color Old Gold, and we'll just touch over some of those gold areas where we've toned those down, giving some highlights to the top areas, going around the trim a little bit. And getting towards the end, we'll go to Vallejo Model Color Natural Steel. We're going to do a dry brush where you wipe the majority of paint off on a tissue, and then just work your way around the model, giving that a dry brush, giving some highlights to those areas. We're then going to use this color to do the belt buckle and the chain that he's wearing and anything that you want more pronounced. I also put some on the grenade here where light would be reflecting off of that. And with that complete, the model is pretty much done. Now, if you've seen any of my videos, you know how I do these Necromunda bases. 2 colors, mahogany brown and natural steel. We start with the dry brush, and I make a mistake here. I go on to heavy, so I just wipe that off, go back to my tissue, get some more paint off, and then I come back in, and you'll see that this is going to turn out just fine. So don't worry if you put on too much, just quickly wipe that away, and then you can get more paint off on your tissue. But I'm just going to make circular motions with that mahogany brown, giving this a nice coat, letting some of that black shine through on the bottom, and then we're going to repeat that process a little lighter, getting the higher raised areas with that Vallejo Natural Steel. And when complete, we can stick our model on the base. I did not do anything fancy with these bases because a lot of it is covered up by the miniature. So that is a Cawdor Redemptionist complete. He will look great on the tabletop. Big thanks to my 2022 Coffee Supporters Club. Thank you guys so much for your support. I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.